Hello. Ooh, no. Hello, and welcome back to the 2023 Pokemon Liverpool Regional Championships. We are going to be coming back with our second semi-final here. We have already got one of our finalists. Alex Soto will be in the Regional Championships final, and we are going to be seeing who is going to be joining him. Is it going to be Luca Paz, or is it going to be Faaiz Ashfaq?
And what a match, of course, I think, coming up. We've already seen that amazing, amazing set between Francesco and Alex just before. And going into this, of course, there's a lot at bay. I think going to see how Trick Room, of course, we saw in the previous match, did actually prevail going into this new one right now. We've seen Faaiz with his Dondozo of Terror, if I'm completely honest, do quite well with its Yawn Protect stall, accompanied by that Limora, which also had Toxic Spikes, as well as Toxic itself. So I'm quite curious to actually see how this goes into Lucas's team.
Yeah, well, we do have a Dondozo mirror in this semi-final,
yep.
So the Toxics and the Toxic Spikes that's set up by the Toxic Debris and the Toxic itself on the Glamora is a good way of winning the 1v1 when you both have the Dondozos,
yep.
Because if one of them is poisoned, one of them is not, the poison one will slowly whittle itself down and then be KO'd. So the Glamora, very, very nice pick here for Faaiz, so going to be able to rack up the damage. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that come to this match at all, because it does seem like it would be very, very impactful in this Dondozo mirror.
Yeah, exactly that, and I think there's a lot going on the line. I think Murkrow, are we potentially taking this into consideration of being a big key player over on Luta's side?
Potentially. You do bring the Murkrow really just to haze the opposing Dondozo. That is one of the main things that it can do. And it's got Quash as well, so you do run it for the Prankster Tailwind, but it does have utility outside of just being the haze Pokemon, and then you will stop the Dondozo in its tracks. So yeah, the Murkrow still has a very reasonable place here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see both the Murkrow coming out for Luca and the Glamora coming out for Faaiz, because both of them would help in the Dondozo mirror. So both are entirely reasonable to bring to this match, but then at the same time, do you even bring your own Dondozo to the Dondozo mirror? You don't need to, because Dondozo doesn't particularly beat Dondozo itself.
Yeah. And both the trainers, of course, no strangers for these sort of big achievements that they have been able to attain, especially Luca, who has been traveling over from the United States and has been doing exceptionally well in a top 4, of which we originally had quite a variety of nationalities involved. We have one German player being Faaiz, we have Luca from the United States, we did have Francesco being from Italy, as well as Alex from Spain. So a bit of a divide, and now things are going into the climax. Of course, who will be taking part into the final of this tournament. Yeah,
we are going to guarantee that we have a Dondozo in this final. It has been very, very strong throughout the entirety of this format, of course. So we can see Faiz's team here, of course, going to be running that Body Press and Yawn Dondozo. So a very cool combination there, especially with the fact that that is the curly Tatsugiri.
Yeah.
Usually when you run Body Press on the Dondozo, you'd probably expect the droopy one to be able to get the defense boost, but opting for the attack boost. Both players opting here for the attack boosting Tatsugiri, because Luca also has that himself.
Yeah, exactly that. Pormont, I think we've mentioned time and time again. We saw it do incredibly well for Chopper during the San Diego Regionals, having both highly offensive base power damaging moves. Double shot for the Electric type, close combat for the Fighting type, 120 base power, and of course having the accessibility to fake out. And, of course, that Revival Blessing. It does allow for more of a smoother play going in from a mid to end game scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very impactful in multiple games that we've seen from Lucas. So, and even with the Pormots we've seen on the stream as well. So yeah, here comes the lead here. It is going to be that Murkrow and Golden Goat coming out for Lucas' side of the field, and Faaiz is going to be going with the Meowscarada and the Dondozo. So Dondozo is already on the field. Faaiz has opted in for at least them bringing the Dondozo to this matchup, and the Murkrow is facing it down straight away, so it would be very surprising to see something like a Tatsugiri switch in on this first turn. You need to deal with the Murkrow before you'd really want to be going for those boosts.
Yeah, exactly that. So the Meowscarada, on the other hand, I think we have seen it does have the capability of going for high offensive damage output due to its overwhelmingly high speed. But in this scenario, like you said, we've got Murkrow, Golden Go, which we already know what they pretty much do. They can either go for Tailwind, go for Make It Rain, and then even get that haze capability going the following turn if there's any special attack drops.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was no downside for this Murkrow clicking the Tailwind here. Going to be able to put that Golden Go faster than the opposing Meowscarada very, very, very comfortably. And going for that Make It Rain, like we said, very classic turn 1. If you lead with Murkrow and Golden Go, Tailwind and Make It Rain is going to be very, very effective here. I say as the Dondozo doesn't take too much damage from that opposing Make It Rain, and Zion is going to be fired off. So that's going to be a way of potentially stopping the haze from the Murkrow coming out if the Tatsugiri were to join the field at some point. Because if the Murkrow is asleep, it can't click that haze button.
And here we go. Of course, I think with Faaiz, we've had the pleasure to speak to him as well multiple times. He has really highlighted the sort of a strategic board play that he does with these passive yawns, making sure that he better positions himself to the point where he can have control. Meowscarada not wanting to take any sort of damage at all, as of course we do know that it's quite offensive. It does not have a Focus Sash, so it may be susceptible to going down to a Make It Rain, especially if powered by Terra.
Yeah, absolutely, and we are going to see a Terra coming out for this turn. It was the potential to go for the Terra on that first turn. You'd have got extra damage coming out from this Golden Go. It is just going to be -1 at this point, so not as much damage, but trying to cancel that out with the fact that it is going for the Steel Terra, because now the Meowscarada, it may still be in range because it doesn't have that Focus Sash.
Exactly. Such a punch. No Ghost type available on that Golden Go due to the terrestrialization of it, not being able to do as much damage as it would have liked. Make It Rain, however, will do just that. Picks up the KO on the Meowscarada and does a substantial amount of health tick over onto the Dondozo, which in this situation, it can't go for any sort of yawns, but it does anticipate that terrestrialization into the mono steel type there. Going for body press is quite a brave play, but we've seen this time and time again from Faaiz, how understanding he is of the board state and what he knows his opponent has to do in that critical moment.
Absolutely. You definitely needed the Steel Terrestrialize for the Golden Go to be able to KO that Meowscarada after that turn, because it did take a round of Life Orb chip as well. It would have almost certainly been in range of that Make It Rain. Dondozo taking extra damage, of course, because the Unaware ignoring that minus special attack drops from the Golden Go, so still doing absolutely massive damage, but really, really nice call out. Knowing that the Golden Go, if it were to be able to KO the Meowscarada, it would have to terrestrialize, therefore it is able to be body pressed by the Dondozo. Unfortunately, not quite strong enough to be able to KO it. The Golden Go is still once again on the field. It's facing down the Glamora. It's still in Tailwinds. It will outspeed this Glamora, and it's, even though it's -2 special attack at this point, that's still going to almost certainly bring the Glamora down to its Focus Sash, thanks to that Steel Terrestrialize and the Choice Specs that has come out. And the Dondozo, it's been taking so much chip damage as well, and is still going to ignore even the -2 of the Make It Rain at this point.
As we are going to be seeing the Dragonite switching out right now for that Murkrow. So just wanting to make sure that it is preserved for a later stage of the game, as Glamora following suit in the same sort of scenario of just wanting to make sure that it gets that spiky shield. So we've seen Faaiz quite a few times go for those double protects. It's just more so wanting to scan out of what your opponent is going to go for. If there's, for example, any sort of choice item available, what are you going to lock yourself into? But in this scenario, it's more of a passive play, just wanting to take away an additional turn of Tailwind and see how Luca might want to try to approach this current board state.
Yeah, absolutely, and just a tiny bit of leftovers might put the Dondozo out of range of the KOs that the Golden Go could be going for, as well as the Murkrow. So Foul Play and Make It Rain would likely be able to KO either Pokemon at this point. So the last turn of Tailwind means that you'll be able to get that KO. Both Pokemon have committed to their protects. Glamora would be KO to the combination of the Make It Rain, bringing it down to its Focus Sash, and then Foul Play only needs to do 1 damage. And then the Dondozo has been chipped so much that it would be in range as well.
Well, yeah, because you do have that haze capability coming out from the Murkrow, which is why this is such a strong combination and synergy between both Murkrow and Golden Go, as the Tauros, actually, the Blaze breed will be coming onto the field right now. Of course, does get its Intimidate off, but that is not going to matter. What will matter, however, is going to be that terrestrialization of the Glamora into the ground type, ready to go ahead and potentially deal some earth power damage onto this Golden Go, or even try to better place itself to not be susceptible to a super effective Make It Rain.
Yeah, and that's probably going to put it out of a Foul Play that could be coming its way once again. There is the Foul Play, but it was into the Tauros that did switch in for for the opposing Dondozo. Therefore, this is going to be quite a strong Earth Power into the opposing Golden Go. It's already so low, it's absolutely going to be able to pick up the KO. So really, really nice use of the Terrascalize there to be able to allow the Glamora to survive that Make It Rain. And Golden Go has just been launching Make It Rain after Make It Rain, finally taken off the field.
Finally taken off the field, as well as the Tailwind does now peter out as well. As we are going to be having Pomot now come onto the field. It does have Fake Out Pressure. It does have the capability of even going for that Revival Blessing in order to get that Golden Go back onto the field. Even though not at 100% of its HP's pool, at about 50%, I think, given that is the current interaction that exists.
Well, that would be good enough, wouldn't it? We've seen how much the Make It Rain's been doing, and Golden Go just needs 1 HP to be able to launch off all those Make It Rains. So, yeah, the Pawmot in a prime position to be able to click that Revival Blessing, outspeeding both of these Pokemon, not needing the Tailwind to be able to go for that. He could just even go on the offensive here. Glamora's almost certainly going to be in range of close combat. Taurus, it'll be very close. It didn't get the Intimidate on the opposing Pawmot, so you can just go on the offensive here, or you can revive that Golden Go. The Pawmot's actually very well positioned.
It really is, as we are going to be seeing the Tailwind being set up once again. However, the Revival Blessing does mean that the Golden Go will be making a return. It has been revived, and it is ready to fight again, as the Tauros does focus down on the Pawmot with that Flare Blitz. Takes a bit of recoil damage, does not deal out a burn at the current moment. However, the Sludge Bomb double up will be more than enough to get rid of the fighting electric type mouse.
Absolutely, and just here comes the Golden Go once again. It can just click those Make It Rains, and that's actually a pretty unique way of changing your special attack stat back to neutral, because you sacrifice all your drops as soon as you're KO'd, and then you're back at neutral. So almost certainly just going to be another Make It Rain here. Glamora's almost certainly in range. The Taurus probably would be able to survive. It'll be quite close because it's back at neutral. We saw how much it did without it being at neutral. It was taking those drops as well. And at least it doesn't have the Steel Terror anymore. So it won't be as strong as it could have been previously. And yeah, it's just going to be able to launch off those Make It Rains once again. That might be why the Glamora is protecting itself here.
It makes a lot of sense, because if you want to try to go ahead and double up onto the Taurus, you can now. It's very easy to go for the foul play into it and maybe hope that that's enough to pick up the KO if the Make It Rain, for whatever reason, does not, which is indeed what we do see, picking up the KO. The Haze interaction and the Tailwind is such a strong combination, and at the moment, Faaiz doesn't seem to have been able to take it quite well on the receiving end, as the passive play that Faaiz tends to go for is the sort of Yawn Vortex sort of setup, but at the current time, doesn't seem like it's worked out well due to the overwhelming amount of burst damage capability that this Golden Go has.
Yeah, absolutely, and Faaiz knows it. He's going to forfeit this first game. Luca taking game 1 in this semi-final, so really, really nice showing of the Golden Go there. Murkrow and Golden Go still an absolutely classic combination in this Series 1, and still showing its worth completely. The Golden Go was just really allowed free reign in the field. It was allowed to make it rain, and then it was still make it raining. It was a very good call out of the body press into the Golden Go. If that was strong enough, that would have been very, very beneficial for Faaiz to be able to take that off the board very, very early. But then we just saw Pawmot comes in, Revival Blessing, here's Golden Go again, and back to neutral.
So there wasn't any Tatsugiri there over on Faiz's side. Do we think perhaps, Jamie, there could be a bit more room to allow for that slot to come in? But then again, it's quite hard. You're going up against the Murkrow. This is what a Murkrow does.
Yep. Murkrow is almost certainly scaring off that Tatsugiri. I think the Dondozo is very justifiable to bring into the game, given it is the Yawn set. Yawn is very easy to bring Dondozo to the match without the need for Tatsugiri, because spamming Yawn is still going to be an entirely viable strategy to be able to put the opponents to sleep. So, yeah, the Dondozo itself is still absolutely fine, I think. The issue is the Golden Go. You need to be able to take care of the Golden Go. You've got that Blaze Breed Taurus. That'll be able to almost certainly knock out in one shot with a Flare Blitz, and to be able to resist the Make It Rains that was just allowed to be fired off. So, yeah, definitely needs to adjust to be able to take care of that Golden Go a lot quicker this time.
So what we're saying is then Tauros as a lead will make a lot more sense going into this if we feel that Luca feels confident, wants to go ahead with the same exact lead of that Murkrow and Golden Go, since it worked out quite well for him, of course. We saw that was a very quick, rapid, high-octane Game 1 win for himself. So it does make a lot of sense that he would probably opt to go for the same strategy. However, there could be the counterplay of expectation on adaptation for Faaiz to bring that Taurus.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does seem like it is probably the best way of breaking through the Golden Go. Obviously, Golden Go is a Golden Go counter if you don't go for the Terror. So that could also be reasonably brought to this game. And just the fact that Golden Go was so effective may increase the chances of Golden Go coming to this match for Faaiz. And here it is, led up with that Dondozo next to, once again, classic pairing of Murkrow and Golden Go for Luca.
So much rain potential without the weather setting as Murkrow Golden Go once again on the field for Luca, and of course Faaiz leading with his own Golden Go and Dondozo. So are we feeling over on Faiz's side the Adwav Berry set of the Golden Go would make a lot of sense here. It does have Nasty Plot capability, but then again, Haze is such a good utility move on a Pokemon that does have that Prankster ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that it is Adwav Berry means that it almost certainly can't KO the opposing Golden Go with the Shadow Ball. And the one with the Choice Specs absolutely can KO the opposing Golden Go with a Shadow Ball. So that might be why the Golden Go is just going to be protecting over on Faiz's side of the field. And also the Dondozo to follow up.
So double protect once again coming out from Faiz here, wanting to sort of scout out what move this Golden Go will lock itself into, which it does seem to be the Thunderbolt. Trying to target down that Dondozo would have likely not picked up the KO, but then again, you never know with a couple of these damage calculations. We did see that Dondozo in previous rounds actually go down to a Thunder powered by Life Orb.
Yeah, so that extra bit of damage with the Foul Play, because Dondozo still has an entirely respectable attack stat. Almost certainly would have been able to pick up the KO on that Dondozo without the boost that it would have got from the Commander. So Golden Go on Faiz's side of the field did have an opportunity. It could have gone for a Nasty Plot, forcing the Haze from the Murkrow to be able to stop that. It could have just gone for a Shadow Ball, get some great damage from the Golden Go, make it rain, great damage into the Murkrow as well. So a little bit of a missed opportunity there, but at least you know what the Golden Go over on Luca's side is now locked into.
As we are going to be seeing that Dondozo switching out, going for the Glamora. I kind of like this play because you got the potential of just repositioning yourself here, wanting to try to focus down on getting rid of this Murkrow, as it has proved to be quite a thorn on Faiz's side. As Thunderbolt will be going into that slot, and my lord, it deals very respectable amounts of damage, as the Nasty Plot will be set up from Faiz's side. Quite a daring play, might I say, when we've got Haze on the field. But then again, trying to force this Murkrow into a bit of a pinch.
Yeah, it's basically forcing the Haze, losing a turn of going for the Nasty Plot to lose the turn from the Murkrow as well. Because if it doesn't go for Haze, that Golden Go is going to be able to do a lot of damage. The Shadow Ball would now be able to KO the Golden Go on Luca's side of the field. But a nice switch in for the Glamora there, taking way more damage than I expected. That Choice Specs really coming into play there. But you can't always just go for the Ground-type Terror on the Glamora. You know that the Golden Go is locked into that Thunderbolt now. So if you do go for the Ground Terror, Glamora can't be KO'd this turn. Foul Play almost certainly will not be strong enough. That might be why the Golden Go on Luca's side doesn't want to be locked into that Thunderbolt anymore and is instead switching into the Dragonite.
Dragonite, of course, we know it does have that Assault Vest, has the moves of Extreme Speed, Terror Blast, Stomping Tantrum, and low kick capability of a Flying Terror, which is quite nice in this situation, where at least it can try to be. As Spiky Shield comes out from the Glamora, not much going on there. Haze, however, is used from the Murkrow, and we're just going to actually have a Shadow Ball targeting down the Dragonite right here. Dragonite does not have multi-scale, and because of that, Haze is actually going to champion that damage.
Yeah, absolutely. The Assault Vest, very, very nice item choice for that Dragonite. Not taking really much damage at all at this point. But now is it going to be threatened by the Glamora, so you do have to contend with that. You can go for a Tailwind, and you can just go for that Stomping Tantrum once again into the Glamora. That would easily be enough to pick up the KO. But if it does go for that Ground Terror, then Stomping Tantrum may not be enough to be able to get that KO. So maybe you want to be going for that Terror Blast instead. Commit your Terror into the Dragonite, because you haven't gone for it in the Golden Go like you did in that previous game. Terror Blast with the Flying may even be strong enough into the Rock type of the Glamora, but not going to be attacking it this turn, because Glamora's going to be switching out instead.
It is going to be switching out, but I would be quite interested to see if Luca did focus down on that slot in any sort of anticipation play there or the read. As Murkrow just going to be setting up the Tailwind once again. It has been doing its jobs quite dutifully, if I do say so myself. Stomping Tantrum trying to target down the Dondozo, deals a bit of chip damage. And once again, we see another Nasty Plot after the reset of the Haze, bringing that Golden Go over on Faiz's side, now back up to +2.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, it's making the Murkrow choose. Do you want extra damage with the Foul Play, which will still chunk the Golden Go and do a nice chunk of damage to the Dondozo also? And do you just accept that you're going to take a +2, make it rain? Or do you go for that Haze and lose the extra chip damage that you would have got from the Foul Play? So yeah, very, very nice going for that nice spot once again with the Golden Go, because Make It Rain will absolutely hurt on Luca's side of the field. Dondozo is very well positioned now. It's not going to be taking too much damage from either Pokemon. If it does take a reasonable amount of damage, that's because the Murkrow has clicked Foul Play, therefore it did not click Haze. So Dondozo is very free to just start spamming those yawns that it absolutely loves to do here, and then it's up to Luca to be able to pivot around that, and just going to start doing that straight away with the Dragonite switching out.
And it makes a lot of sense from Faaiz. You want to be able to actually put on that offensive pressure and meet Luca halfway with that. Always try to force those plays, take the match back to him, as Hayes does come out once again. And a Goldango says, no, I want my boost, thank you very much. It'll go back up now from neutral to +2 as we finally see it. The Dondozo targets down that Murkrow successfully with the Yawn, which does actually stop and slow the momentum from Luca's side. He's going to really have to take into consideration whether he wants to switch that Murkrow out or actually keep it in where it will take that mandatory sleep at the end of the turn.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to choose now. Do you allow this Goldengo to finally be at +2 special attack and start launching off its powerful attacks? Because if you want to stop that, you have to haze. Yep. And that is the last time you'll be able to do that for the foreseeable future, because Murkrow would fall asleep here. So the Murkrow forced to switch out here, doesn't want to take the sleep. This Goldengo finally, after 3 nasty plots, is finally going to be able to launch off one of those powerful boosted attacks.
We may even see a terrestrialization over on Faiz's side, but not this turn. Just a protect there, wanting to see what the Goldengo over on Luca's side is going to be locked into. Actually targets down the opposing Goldengo with Thunderbolt rather than that Dondozo, and there it is. The Yawn Vortex has activated. Pawmot has now been, or is actually now going to be a bit drowsy.
Yes, absolutely, and you still got that choice. You're stuck in the Vortex, like you said. You've got to choose at some point, are you going to go to sleep? Because you need to be starting to deal with this Goldengo. You've locked into the Thunderbolt now, so you're really not going to be too much damage. Thunderbolt trying to catch that potential of the Terra Flying coming out from the opposing Goldengo. It's going to be the Terrestrialization. Oh, wow. Terrestrialize on the Pawmot here.
Whoa.
That's going to allow it to just consistently go for those double shocks. So very, very interesting here, because the Pawmot, it's going to sleep at the end of this turn.
But it wants that damage onto the Goldango is what we're expecting here, unless it is going to be targeting down that Dondozo. We shall see. No, it is going to go into the Goldango on Faiz's side. Is it enough to pick up the KO is the question. It is not. This is a bulky Goldengo, which does have that Aggro Berry, but it did not actually activate, and we see the double up there. Goldengo has been dispatched of. Even if it was a +2 of its special attack, it is off the field.
Yeah, absolutely, and it didn't achieve anything at the end. It went for so many nasty pots, so many times that it could have gone for damage. It got one Shadow Ball into the Dragonite, and that's it. It was on the field for, what, 5-6 turns? And could have clicked Make It Rain at any point, and it would have done significant damage to the opposing side of the field. But just trying to pin the Murkrow, it was still going to stop them from going for haste, but it just never did damage. It needs to start doing the damage there, and now it is off the field. So really, really nice play there. Sacrificing the Pawmot, going to sleep, and needing that Terra to be able to get that extra damage as well, to be able to get that KO. At least Meowscarada's reasonably positioned, because Goldengo can no longer go for the Terra itself. It is going to be weak to those knockoffs that come out.
It really, really will be, as we are actually going to be seeing the Pawmot switch out now for the Dragonite, which is on the field. Actually a double switch out, which is quite interesting here. Maybe trying to anticipate any sort of either continual Yawns that are going to be dispatched, sent out from this Dondozo, as well as an attacking move from that Meowscarada, which is going to be the knockoff. Actually does get rid of Murkrow's Eviolite, of course, and showing a bit of recoil damage via that Life Orb. But Wave Crash, is this enough to pick up the KO? Yes, it is. What a very calculated play from Faaiz there.
Yeah, absolutely no drawbacks to that play whatsoever. If the Goldengo stays on the field, knockoff is almost certainly a KO with the Life Orb from the Meowscarada. If it does switch, like we saw, Murkrow is going to knock off its Eviolite, so it is not bulky enough now to survive that Wave Crash. So very, very nice indeed. Pawmot is the Pokemon of choice to come back on the field, so a very interesting choice there to be able to bring it back in.
Yeah, I think it may be down to the actual natural cure available on the ability, because it has come back onto the field without its sleep status. So proving why natural cure is such a really cool pick on Pawmot. Previously, we had seen it with Volt Absorb, of course, making it immune to electric-type moves. And also, if an electric-type move does go into it, it will actually recover HP. However, natural cure makes a lot of sense for all of those burns, for all of those sleep statuses being inflicted onto it. Just needs to switch out, switches back in, and it now has fake out capability as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant from Luca. So it seemed like it was a bit odd going for staying in and using your Terra on a Pokemon that's going to sleep, but yes, Natural Cure, a very, very good choice of ability on this Pawmot for this exact situation that it was asleep. Now it is going to be able to put on a lot of pressure here. Even just going for on the offensive with the double shock, that's forcing the Dondozo to have to commit to its terror here. It's now going to be the steel type, so it won't be taking as much damage from that potential double shock.
It is not. Meowscarada does not want to take any sort of damage right now. It is susceptible to both the Dragonite as well as the Pawmot if it does get focused down into. However, you're going to be seeing the fake out going into the Dondozo slot. Ooh, low kick from that Dragonite. A move we don't commonly see, Jamie. Trying to target down the Meowscarada, maybe put it within range of potential extreme speed, if frail enough both on Meowscarada's side and powerful enough to be executed over from Dragonite.
Yeah, I think Meowscarada is not the heaviest of Pokemon. I don't think low kick has the highest base power, but almost certainly with a combination of low kick into an extreme speed, that should be enough to KO Meowscarada, because it is going to be so frail, it will be KO to the combination of those attacks. So yeah, very, very nice choice of move there for the low kick. You can still go for just two extreme speeds. That may be able to pick up the knockout on the Meowscarada. It would be quite close. But you've also got the opportunity to just go for close combat, especially into either Pokemon at this point, because they're both weak to fighting, but not this turn. Pawmot's going to be switching out instead. And
it makes sense because if you're Luca here, you're expecting a Flower Trick going into that slot because there's zero drawbacks, as we do actually see that come out. And we know, of course, Gholdengo does resist it due to its steel typing. Even if it is a critical hit, it's not going to be dealing that much damage. Not flinching Gholdengo in the least. And wow, low kick actually does take deal a lot of damage there as the Dondozo picks up a critical hit on the Gholdengo, and all of a sudden we got even more momentum being swooshed into Faiz's side.
Yeah, that's a big critical hit there. That almost certainly would not have KO'd the Gholdengo without that critical hit. That does allow the switch back straight into the Pawmot, so you've got to contend with the fake outs that can come out now. But this is the last time it can join the field, because that's 2 KOs on Luca's side of the field. This is the last time you would potentially be able to go for that fake out. A play a fake out into the Dondozo on extreme speed is very safe here, and there would be no drawbacks at all for going that play, because then you guarantee that you're going to KO the Meowscarada if it does not go for the protect. But you can still just go for a very safe double protect on this turn with Faaiz, maybe wanting to reposition. If you do have that Tauros waiting in the back, then you still can get an Intimidate onto that Pawmot.
And it is not that Tauros. It's actually going to be the Glamora here, so it does make sense. We had seen it before. It did take a lot of damage, but due to that rock typing on it, it will actually resist the extreme speed from that Dragonite. It's quite interesting because from one side of the field, you think, is that a good position, that KO that was dealt onto the Gholdengo for Faaiz, or would it actually have been better since Luca was able to reposition quite nicely into that scenario?
Yeah, but Faaiz has got the yawn into the Dragonite now, so you can just go for Spiky Shield and Protect, and then the Dragonite's definitely going to sleep. So that would take away the potential of the extreme speed, at least for the foreseeable future, potentially freeing up the Meowscarada to be able to Flower Trick the Pawmot. You need to break the Sash at some point. It probably has to be Glamora or Dondozo to be able to do that, because if you do it with the Flower Trick, then Pawmot is able to just respond with a close combat KO into the Meowscarada as well. Faiz's Pokemon are all incredibly low. 2 of them are in the red. Like Dondozo is going to be getting there very close as well, whereas Luca's are still pretty healthy here. There's not really a downside to going for a Spiky Shield and a Protect, or if you want to be trying to get a little bit more risky and trying to catch a double up into both of the slots, then you could potentially protect one of them and go on the offensive, but there would be nothing wrong with the Spiky Shield and a Protect here.
And it's quite a precarious situation because you've got to try to anticipate which Pokemon will go for a Protect and what is your most optimal play in this scenario, as we do see the double Protect does indeed come out, and I think Luca's going to be very happy with the move he went for, as it is that Revival Blessing, and now he has the choice of bringing either Gholdengo or that Murkrow back into being active and available for use on the field, especially not just now. It will be able to be brought in. However, you got a lot to think about right now. Which is the better Pokemon given the scenario that we have on the board state?
Yeah, well, Murkrow would allow all the Pokemon to be able to outspeed the opposing Meowscarada that is still waiting in the back. Gholdengo is just proven to be very, very effective in this game as well. But if you do bring the Gholdengo, Glamora is still going to be able to outspeed it. It would KO it with the Earth Power. So Murkrow is the Pokemon of choice for Luca here. A low kick attempt into the opposing Dondozo, not risking any of the extra damage that the Spiky Shield could have given it as well. Would have KO'd the Dondozo as it is so heavy. But Dragonite is going to be going to sleep here for sure. So now that's freed up both Pokemon to be able to potentially break the Focus Sash on the Pawmot, which you do absolutely need to do to allow that Meowscarada to be able to get the Flower Trick KO into the Pawmot, because if you're allowing the Pawmot to be able to just click Close Combat, it's a KO. Every Pokemon is in range of Close Combat at this point, so you need to try and find a way to break the foe slash, and it kind of needs to be this turn.
And I think Luca going ahead and sort of analyzing Faiz's playstyle knows that the double protect is quite telegraphed from his side of the field. That is pretty much how he has currently been playing, and it has brought immense amount of success for him during this tournament run. However, it is a bit susceptible when you do have that Pokémon that could just all of a sudden bring that additional ally, that fifth Pokemon as we've been talking about, most notably, to sort of change the balances of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dragonite's not wanting to waste any of its turn of sleep here. Switching out into that Murkrow would be susceptible to the potential of the Power Gem here. But a double spiky shield attempt from the opposing Glamora not going to work. But that was not the target of the Pawmots this turn. Close combat with a critical hit on top for good measure. Not particularly necessary, but very, very good targeting there. Dondozo is KO'd, and that means that the Focus Sash is very much still intact for this Pawmot.
Something that we don't commonly see last for this long, I think, especially on Pawmot. And it's unfortunate because that was quite a wasted turn from the Glamora at the minute, and all of a sudden Faaiz is down to his final two Pokemon, which have incredibly low hit points left. This may just be Luca going ahead and clinching his place into the finals.
Yeah, managed to get the free switch into the Murkrow as well. That means that Tailwind can be active on this turn. You can click the Tailwind. Pawmot outspeeds the Meowscarada as well. Only a Sucker Punch will be able to out-prioritize that, and that wouldn't do enough. You'd be able to just get the close combat KO into either Pokemon. Even if you want to go for a double shock, that would be enough for the KO as well. Pawmot has been absolutely fantastic in this game. A really, really smart use of the Terra to be able to get a massive amount of damage with the double shock. And because of that natural cure, it was able to be able to come back in, not sleeping anymore, and could potentially wrap up this game for Luca. As
the Murkrow, it's just going to go ahead for safer caution, get that Tailwind set up, wants to make sure that this Pawmot will be outspeeding most definitely that Glamora. It goes and it does pick up the KO, double shot there, not even attempting to go into that Meowscarada slot, knowing that the Meowscarada does, of course, have Protect there. We know that Meowscarada does have, however, Sucker Punch. In this situation, it maybe could have been a better play from Faaiz to go for the Flower Trick into the Pommel, but regardless, Meowscarada's just too low on HP to be able to have any fuel left in the DAS.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to wrap it up here. Luca Paz is going to be the second finalist, joining Alex Soto in the Pokemon Liverpool Regional Championship final.
Yeah, and I mean, what a performance indeed. 2-0 in a set that felt like there was so much going on, and it didn't feel quite as decisive as the score entails on.
Yeah, I think the game one was very much in Luca's favor, just free reign to be able to make it rain after make it rain, and there wasn't really anything that Faaiz was particularly doing about it. Game two absolutely shook that up completely, and Golden Go it wasn't that effective in that game. Faiz's definitely could have been. It was clicking nasty plot after nasty plot.
Yeah.
Lots of opportunities to still just go for a make it rain and get some damage on the board. All it did was just that tiny bit of chip damage to break not even the multi-scale, just the bit of damage into the Dragonite with the Assault Vest.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it was on the field for so many turns that could have been doing damage. We saw how good the Golden Go would have been because we saw Lucas be so effective. Could have been for Faaiz as well, but just opted too many nasty plots. Just nasty plot after nasty plot. Pinning the Murkrow, but not doing the damage that you needed.
It was a very smart play at the time. You know, it shows a very good understanding of the board state. You know what you're forcing your opponent to select as a move. Haze being a really good selection of move on the Prankster Murkrow, right? You're going to be able to just outspeed everything and have that advanced sort of increased priority bracket. And in that scenario, going for the nasty plot, understanding that is the current play that Murkrow is likely going to go for, but also pinning it with the Yawn was incredibly smart, makes a lot of sense, but it just felt like there wasn't as much immediate damage output that Faaiz could get over onto Luca's side, which Luca had a lot of damage available to himself to be able to actually do the reverse and sort of put all the pressure back onto Faaiz where he wasn't able to contain it as well. Yeah,
absolutely. The Dondozo seemed like it would be pretty good with those Yawns being able to get the sleep, and there was a turn that it seemed like this is a pretty reasonable pin here.
Yeah.
And then the Pawmot, I don't care. I don't care that I'm going to sleep. I'll just switch out and come back in and I'm absolutely fine. So the natural cure, absolutely massive on the Pawmot. Because Voltorb is still great ability. I'm like Iron Fist not to use so much because double shock and close combat don't get the boost there. Voltorb absolutely fine. Natural cure, massive in that game. If it was the Voltorb one instead, that was a totally different game because then you're maybe forced to switch out the Pawmot and then you don't go on the offensive that turn and get that massive damage. So yeah, natural cure absolutely the play for the Pawmot there.
It really, really was. And it was good enough to, of course, allow Luca to get that position in the finals, where we will be broadcasting very, very shortly. But prior to that, we're just going to have a couple of words from the man himself, Luca. So don't go anywhere, and we will be back shortly. And welcome back, Pokemon trainers across the globe. We are here with the winners interview. Luca, who has been able to go ahead and guarantee his position into the finals of the 2023 Liverpool Pokemon Regional Championships. My lord, Luca, what a triumph performance that you have been able to have. I think the set was initially incredible with Faaiz. You played really, really well, consistently and methodically, with the pressure, the immediate pressure you had available on the field. Of course, we saw the Golden Go and the Murkrow mode. We're already no strangers to that at all, but it just works really, really well. And that was a key sort of strategy that you pointed out, and you thought, okay, this seems really good going into game one.
Yeah. So when I wanted to build this team, I wanted to play Dondozo and have something that could beat a mirror, so it's not a Dondozo versus Dondozo leftovers battle, which is really boring.
It's like Celesteela back in the day, right? Yeah.
So I thought Murkrow was like a perfect fit if I'm going to have Goldengo. Murkrow has really good synergy. When you could Haze drops away, you have Tailwind. I have Quash for certain things, and obviously Haze for Dozo. It didn't end up coming up because he didn't bring Tatsugiri, but I always had the pressure if he did have Tatsugiri, where I could just click Haze. And if Murkrow died, I had Palmot to revive it. That's basically my game plan.
Yeah, and I mean, so were you a bit fearful of that Dondozo? Because it's a bit of a unique set that we haven't seen as often, right?
Not much, except for maybe the Terra Steel. But I thought that if it just kept clicking Yawn, then it wasn't really much of a threat, and it just sat on the field taking hits.
It was a bit passive.
Yeah.
A bit too passive. And I mean, you took the Storm and the front to Faaiz. Faaiz did a couple of really good plays there. I think there was notably a body press into your Golden Go, terrestrialization there, where obviously it could have gone awry, and you could have just not terrestrialized. It wouldn't have done anything at all. But you played really well in understanding Faiz's play style. Like we said, a bit passive, just trying to make sure that a couple of the chess pieces are in the perfect position to sort of disrupt and block all control from your Pokemon. But you just didn't let go of the foot off the gas, right? You just wanted to make sure you're always there to pressure offensively.
Yeah, I thought that if leading Goldengo Murkrow, he doesn't really have that much that can resist, make it rain. And if I just, and Dondozo with Unaware ignores my stat drops, so if I just keep clicking it, eventually it'll KO. If Tatsugiri comes in, I can Haze it. And so Glamora is super effective against it. Meowscarada, not the greatest defenses, so it dies. And that's pretty much why I led that.
It makes a lot of sense, and we saw that Palmot was definitely able to give a bit of a driving force into your side of the field. We did see the interaction of the Yawn coming out from the Dondozo going into that slot. However, you terrestrialize straight into the electric type. You wanted to sort of, because I believe your Golden Go was locked into Choice Specs Thunderbolt at the time, correct? So you were able to get enough damage to allow for the double up KO, which was quite nice onto Faiz's Golden Go.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if a regular double shock plus the Thunderbolt KO'd it, but I felt like if I Terra'd Palmot, it would allow me to get the KO with the double up. And I didn't really need the electric typing afterwards because I didn't click double shock, but it still came in handy to know I got the KO.
Yeah, it's one of those things that even within the moment, even if it lasts for one turn, terrestrialization can give such additional momentum to your gameplay. And if you just do the very accurate and experienced thing, such as yourself did, where you recognize the breaking point of the match, where you know that if you can pick up that vital KO, it could really loosen up the rest of the board state for yourself.
Yeah. So the Goldengo was just clicking nasty plot after nasty plot.
Yeah, that was a very interesting interaction.
I felt like that's pretty much the only thing that's going to one-hit KO my Goldengo, apart from Meowscarada. But I feel like I could play around that. And I just wanted to get rid of it so that Goldingo is more free to switch out and come back in and click make it rain.
And I mean, it really proved to be quite resourceful, and it makes a lot of sense because you're able to break through that core. So what I did want to say is, obviously, you are in the finals. You must be feeling amazing. And we did just discuss that this final position right now, I believe first or second, you have just guaranteed your place at the World Championships.
Yeah, really excited about that. Obviously, I'm going to try and go for the day 2 invite, but knowing that I have the day 1 secured is nice. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's amazing. I'm excited for you. I mean, it's honestly such a pleasure to have you on as well. Being able to go ahead and face against a player that is really on form, both as yourself too, is going to be a spectacle that I know that everyone's going to be enjoying. So we are looking forward to the final. Huge congratulations once again. And what we are going to be doing, lovely people at home, we're going to be cutting to a short break where we will start preparing our finals. So don't go anywhere, and I mean it this time, and we will be back shortly.